welcome to CNBC TV 18's continuing coverage here from the World Economic Forum's annual summit in Davos. We've been bringing you headliners and newsmakers. It is our privilege to have with us on the program today in our Davos studio a man who has seen the way that the markets have shaped for the last 40 years. He is, of course, also a big believer in the India story. Joining us now, live and exclusive in Davos, Stephen Schwarzman of Blackstone. Stephen, what a great pleasure to have you join us on the program. It's wonderful to have you speak with us here. What's the big takeaway from Davos so far?
Well, Davos is just starting. It started last night, so you're catching me around noon in Davos. And most people aren't questioning the global economy and how it's doing. They're more interested in geopolitical stuff that's going on, whether it's Iran or Venezuela or Greenland or other types of things that keep happening with real rapidity. So no one has any answers to any of those things.
And more questions.
Right, more questions than answers. And like many things, time gives you the answers. But surprisingly, most of those issues haven't had a huge impact on markets at this point.
Mm-hmm. You talked about time, and I want to understand from you 40 years of doing this at Blackstone and building out Blackstone, 21 years in India. Many people compare what we are seeing today in the world. In fact, Boge Brende, the president of the World Economic Forum, believes that this goes back almost to 1945, the geoeconomics and the geopolitical fragmentation that we're seeing. Why do you think the markets are not reacting to the volatility in the headlines?
I think the markets aren't reacting because, one, there's some economic things that are going on that appear to be overwhelming, actually, some of those geopolitical issues. And the geopolitical issues themselves aren't resolved. So it's not quite 1945. But on the economic side, the advent of artificial intelligence and its future impact and changes has created, it's not really a euphoria. It's a solid economic growth in the United States, which is a world's biggest economy by far. We grew in the last quarter 4.3%. Now, by Indian standards, that's not much. But on the other hand, we've got a GDP per capita probably around $70,000,
yes.
and India has $3,000. Mm-hmm. So it's easier for India to have a bigger percentage growth. But for us to be growing 4% plus, that's almost never happened in decades. And it's the impact of massive expenditures by what's called the hyperscalers. They're just big companies that are all in the data and social media and other types of activities, spending at unprecedented rates. And probably 3/4 of the growth in the United States is from the building of data centers. And now there's going to be a big boom in electricity because the U.S. is really short electricity. And for the data centers to keep being built, you need the electricity, and that's creating even more in the way of economic growth. Now, that doesn't totally explain why European markets are up, but in the U.S., something magical is happening with technology and what people think is going to happen in the future.
Well, in your words, if you believe that something magical is in fact happening on the back of technology in the US, what would you be long on in light of this?
Well, in point of fact, we have a point of view.
Yeah.
And Blackstone is the largest builder of data centers in the world. And we're also the largest owner of data centers. And we're a huge investor in the modernization and growth of the electric grid. So, for example, unlike India, we've had no growth in electricity in 20 years. And we're going to start running short. And we're going to go into a world where most people think you'll have 5 to 6% growth. Now, by Indian standards, that's not that much. But if for 20 years you haven't grown at all, that increase is a very substantial increase. And the whole electric grid is going to need massive expansion, 50% type expansion at a minimum. Some people think much higher. And so as investors, being in these two areas with increased concentration has turned out to be a simply wonderful outcome.
Well, yeah, I would imagine so, and we continue to see billions of dollars being poured into the build-out on the AI infrastructure side. But, you know, you said once recently that you believe that we're in a super cycle of fundraising. Do you believe that will continue to be the case in 2026?
Well, in terms of fundraising, it was a little tougher in the private equity area over the last few years when interest rates went up quite high in the West because of inflation after the pandemic. And that sort of trapped people who had bought deals near the top. Then interest rates went up, and all of a sudden, you couldn't sell things, and it was not a good time. But interest rates are coming down. You know, in the United States, they've already come down in Europe, and that's going to start the cycle again. But other parts of what we do at Blackstone, credit, for example, private credit, we now have $500 billion just in private credit. And our firm is increasingly close to $1.3 trillion. That's with a T.
Yes, we get that. That's with a T, 1.3 trillion, yes.
You know, I remember when we started with no assets. And so this is actually pretty remarkable because, you know, we have some of these large businesses, you know, growing at 20% a year. Now, those are Indian numbers, and you know, those are very nicely profitable businesses for us, and so we're moving into the cycle now because finance is somewhat cyclical, where the kinds of businesses we're in, whether they're real estate, we're the largest commercial owner in India of real estate. That kind of business is coming back. Private equity fundamentals are changing positively, and the private credit is already doing really well. So it's a very good time for us. And you know, I think just separately that our India business is our #1 business in the world in terms of rates of return for the investments that we make. Now, somebody's always got to be #1, but it's nice that I'm on an India show.
Yes, absolutely, and India's #1. That's good to hear and good to know.
Right. So we're doing a new fund. I can't say how big it's going to be because our lawyers will beat me up, but it's having very strong reception because our investment results in India are so good. So in a way, we're a bit like ambassadors for India in the developed world.
Well, India's lucky to have an ambassador like you, Stephen Schwarzman, but what's the ambition then for India and the new themes that you believe you would like to back? You talked about real estate, and that's, of course, been the big one for Blackstone in India. India's also building out data centers as it moves down the AI highway. What will be some of the new themes that you would possibly bet on in India?
Well, we're going to continue buying companies, and we switch in different areas. We've become very big in hospitals, for example, and we have probably around 40 companies that we owned in India. And I think we're the largest foreign direct investor in India. And so we'll continue adding companies at an accelerated rate because we'll have the monies to do that. In real estate, there's always exciting things to do as data centers are developing. There have been a series of announcements, as you know,
yes,
of what people hope to do. We're one of those hope to do people also. We've already been building some. Whenever you operate with a country that's on the right track, there are always new opportunities that you didn't see. We did something in the money management business there. That's done really well. Something in the housing business, that continues to do well. So, India has a very stable political structure now, and it's doing the right types of things. So we're finding an increasing number of things to do.
Not just you hope to do, but you intend to do.
Well, we've been doing them now quite well. You don't get to be as consequential as we are in India without doing a lot of things.
Well, we look forward to you doing more things in India and hope India continues to be #1 when it comes to returns for Blackstone. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here on CNBC TV 18, and we look forward to seeing you back in India as well.
Well, I love going to India, and we also have an amazing team of people in India, all Indians.
Yes.
Actually.
Well, we look forward to seeing you with your team in India. Stephen Schwarzman, thanks very much for joining us here in Davos. Well, you heard it from Stephen Schwarzman. India continues to be a theme that Blackstone will bet on, invest in. Lots of new sectors emerging there. Of course, they hope to do data centers in India, but a lot more conversation coming up for you here in Davos. Right after this short break, we're back with you in a minute.